Here are 10 crypto altcoins I think everyone must keep an eye on in the next 14 days, moving into this final 12 months of the bull run. Now, here's the real kicker. Depending on who you ask, there's going to be altcoins in everyone's top altcoin picks. Doesn't matter if it's someone down the street, friends, family, or the influencer that you love to watch. We're going to have coins that cross over. We'll have some coins that we kind of haven't heard of before or disagree with. It's all a part of the game. But the reason I picked these 10 altcoins specifically for this video is because we're only 14 days away. Yes, that's 2 weeks away from the beginning of the last year of this bull run. And these projects, each of them, in some way, shape, or form recently, have showed extremely strong signs of either growing in terms of their own marketing or they're growing in terms of their statistics. They're forming new partnerships and they're doing what a project should do at this exact time of the cycle. What do I mean by doing what a project should do at this exact time in the cycle? Projects are run by people, and these people know this is the money-making season. Like someone who might own a Christmas decor shop that makes 99% of their revenue in the last month of every single year, these projects know they make all their money in the 4th year of the 4-year cycle. This is their Christmas season for a whole 12 months. So they know they have to push marketing. They have to push updates and the things they've been building on in the last 3 years. Hence why I'm making this video. So let's not waste any time and give you the coins that are actually making moves. Do not forget, if you find yourself enjoying this video, learn something new, or find a hot pick, hit that like button. It really does help support all I do on this channel. So thank you very much. And while you're done, hit the subscribe button as well, guys. The subscribe button is getting lonely. Mark my words. It's screaming and crying and carrying on all day. It wants to be hit. So make sure you do that too. And this is what I base a lot of my personal research on. I actually just kind of pretty much take what these teams of these projects will do. We call them cryptocurrencies, but at the end of the day, they're all businesses. Everything other than Bitcoin is a business in this industry, even stable coins. So I just take what they look to do to influence us to buy, and I reverse engineer that to allow us to be on the same level as them, expecting what they're going to do next. And then we obviously beat retail. We beat our competition. And the explosive potential is here for these coins. The largest project I have on this list by far is about a 10 billion market cap. And I've chosen it because I still think it can do a 10 or 11x from here. And like Solana in the last cycle that we can see here, this went from a 10 billion market cap at 22 bucks and then 11x up here to a price of like 260 bucks. Now, we don't want to aim for this. We want to be pretty much sold out before this point here. We don't want to be sort of gambling from this point, but that's the whole idea. If you go too heavy in your micro caps, your meme coins or whatever, and you overcommit and you lose a lot of your money, which you probably are likely to, at least you have some solace knowing that you've made some money, some pretty decent money. I wanted to point it out because some of you guys aren't taking full advantage of easy gains here, essentially. And one thing for each of these coins I will not do in this video is talk tokenomics. The reason why, if you watch my video I made a few days ago, you will see how complex this topic can be, and this industry needs a complete reshift and change in terms of the way that we think about tokenomics, okay? So a lot of these tokenomic schedules look good, but they're actually bad, or vice versa. And so I'm not going to talk about it. I've vetted each of these coins, obviously, but in the previous cycle, this is Solana's chart again. You might have faded Solana at $1.50 here at an 80 mil market cap before it went up 170x, like literally right before it, because its vesting schedule looked like this. It had about 4x dilution of its entire supply. Had you known what was in that video I made a few days ago and actually know how this sort of works and the truth behind tokenomics and FDV, you would have actually still purchased it, because again, you look at cryptocurrencies as businesses and you understand that a dilution in terms of a large unlock doesn't actually kill token price at all. And that's why I spent $10,000 and I'm still not quite finished just yet, the tokenomics master sheet, to allow you guys to look at 2 numbers. That's it, to determine whether a coin has a good or bad vesting schedule. So coin 1 being Near Protocol, I hope you guys understand the way I see Near Protocol isn't so much so a large cap coin that's 8 billion market cap that's never going to go far from here. I see Near Protocol as a coin that's valued at $8 billion right now because they've done a fantastic job of targeting sectors of this bull run and making themselves unique amongst their competition to gain that much traction so far. Imagine where this coin can go. Like I just showed you, I think that Near could genuinely be a coin similar to Solana in the last cycle here, okay? So I don't want to talk tokenomics here today. This coin is great. It's inching up over the last month. Again, all these coins have fallen down recently because of the recent dip. But again, we want to make sure these are in good narratives or good areas. If they're not in good narratives or areas, they're just not going to absorb a lot of demand. It's as simple as that. You're not going to go looking for gold in the middle of nowhere where there's no gold. You want to go where gold is mostly found or around those areas where no one's been before. That's exactly why narratives are important. Near Protocol is a layer 1 project. It's a Web3 layer 1 coin. It's a 10 out of 10, in my opinion, ranked narrative of the bull run. It's also an AI. They've really made a massive push here for this area. There are a few different other narratives as well, but I don't want to talk about those because we want to pick the narratives that are the most recognizable for these projects, okay? So Near's page here on Twitter, of course, they've changed the banner to specifically where AI and Web3 intersect. You may not think of this as a big deal, but again, knowing how these projects work, they're businesses. They don't just make moves for no reason. They want to attract the most money as possible. And I would argue Near is spearheading part AI right now, especially with the AI agent section as well. I won't talk about that today. I've got a video coming up on Near Protocol very, very soon. But by the way, I was calling this coin at $1. I don't like to talk about my calls so much because I don't like the feeling of gloating or saying, hey, I was doing this, doing that. But at the same time, guys, I mean, I could see this a mile away. This coin honestly has so much potential for this bull run. And with the recent partnership with MetaMask here, pretty much giving more users access to Near, not just more users. Anyone can buy Near on a centralized exchange. More users for DeFi, which right now I believe is where they're lacking. So MetaMask right now has around about $100 to $200 million worth of volume a month. Cumulatively right now, about $35 billion worth of total volume. These guys have around about 100,000 users-ish per week, but we can see this spiking to 4, 5, maybe even 1 million users at the peak of the bull run because this was the peak of the last bull run. A lot of people are coming on chain, and what do you think that means for Near? They're the only non-EVM chain, like this tweet said before, that has full integration with MetaMask. These guys are lacking right now in the department, right? That's why I love the partnership. They're at $300 million in TVL. They're growing quite quickly, sure, but comparable to other chains, this just ain't good enough. But giving more users more access to the protocols down here, it should hopefully solve one of their major flaws, which is a sort of succinct DeFi or on-chain ecosystem. This is a major thing that layer 1s need to do. And that brings me to coin number 2 here, the largest coin on this list. From here, we'll scoot down the market cap rankings a bit. But Sui is the next pick because they've done such a good job at this recently. Many people are sitting here going, oh, Sui this, Sui that, you know, Sui's a large cap. I don't want to buy into it. And yes, the multiples I don't think will quite be a 10x from here. Maybe it could be on the very high side, but I wouldn't look for that. It's in great narratives, so it's in Web3 Layer 1, like Near. It's also in gaming and focuses on DeFi as well, so we get all top-ranking narratives. But where I've got to give it so much respect is that they're focusing and doubling down on wallets. Okay, again, this to you and I, regular retail people, especially if you're new, you're thinking, dude, where's the Google? Where's the massive Microsoft partnerships? Where's the big stuff? Guys, this is big for the right project. And for Sui, for Near, it's massive. This gives people access to these chains. A lot of the newer chains aren't as successful as what they are simply because you can see this partnership with Phantom recently as well. Because they just can't bring money on chain, and people buy the token because the TVL's high or because the on-chain use is looking quite good. It is such a pinnacle in those Web3 coins. That's why I've picked both Sui and Near Protocol as well. Great narratives, great coins, great traction on-chain and off-chain with their marketing, as well as they're looking to actually expand some of the lacking use cases of the chains, right? TVL. Now, my next coin is a fully fledged AI project. It's the Mac Daddy of all AI coins, not Render, it's Fetch, ASI. Now, the reason I've added ASI to this list and not Render, even though, by the way, I think Render's gone above $100, no problem. I love Render. It's in my portfolio as I own ASI as well. But the reason I added this coin, again, AI coin to the core, and technically a DPIN as well, I've added it because they've just come out with their roadmap here, guys. Huge update. Now, I think the lacking part of ASI until this date and time is the fact that this new alliance of 4 projects now have, it sounds great, right? 4 AI coins working together now on a unified sort of goal, but no one really knows up until this point where they were going, right? We have the cool idea, but like we're going to buy for the long term here. We can buy for the short term, but like what's happening in the next 6 to 12 months or the next 2 to 3 years? For people to buy, they have to be sold on the idea and the vision, just like any business would. So now we have that. And we have a very, very clear roadmap to success specifically for 2025. In quarter 2 and quarter 1, I'm the most bullish by far, because that's at least what I know for certain. The bull run will likely have peaks, whether you sort of submit to the lengthening cycles theory or the theory that we have a shorter cycle. It's called the lengthening cycle theory, but it's a shorter cycle, so go figure. And then we also have the regular cycle ending in late Q3, early Q4 of the next coming year here. So I think, but either way, I think the most important thing and the biggest updates regardless happen in Q1 and Q2 with this over here, AI to AI self-learning. They already have right now an application that lets them do this. And also down here as well, decentralized compute network utilizing intercloud technologies. There are a few other ones here that I'm quite bullish on as well, but the end goal and the reason why I'm super excited about this, not just for, I guess, clearing up the very clouded goal of this, bullish project, but they're also burning tokens as well, guys. So they burn tokens with more of the products that come out. I could talk about some of those products that I have touched on recently on the channel here, but ultimately, the burn model works based on its earn to burn, right? So when they earn revenue, they'll burn tokens, okay? So the better the project, the more they burn. Now, perhaps the biggest news of the week, matter of fact, could even be the biggest news of the month, I shit you not, is this, and no one's even talking about it. Wormhole. Okay, Wormhole had a massive update. I spoke briefly about last night's video. This is why you had to follow me on Twitter, guys. I made a post about this on Twitter. Okay, these guys are in seemingly a pretty mediocre narrative, right? Interoperability, right? Cross-chain connections. I've picked them because they're also in the Solana ecosystem as well. That's one of the main reasons that I've picked them over Layer 0 is because they hit a massive narrative solely being the Sol ecosystem because it will be big this cycle. But this update right here, this update, guys, why aren't people talking about it? I'll tell you why. Because they aren't already interested in Wormhole, generally speaking, but now Wormhole's entering the real-world asset space. This partnership with Securitize has given them unprecedented access to BlackRock because BlackRock part owns Securitize, and Securitize and BlackRock are tokenizing, as Larry Fink said himself, the entire stock market on chain. Get a load of this. The collaboration results in all current and future tokenized assets from Securitize, that's also BlackRock, leveraging Wormhole as the official blockchain interoperability provider. That also will include likely products as well for Ondo, facilitating the growth of major institutional adoption and bridging the gap between traditional and decentralized financial systems. So that's probably the buildable fund as well. That is, if you're talking about catalysts and news, that's a 10 out of 10. That's probably even an 11 out of 10. When Wormhole decides to pump, and it will. And this is like, hey guys, by the way, remember Securitize we partnered with a few months back? We're doing this with them now. Price is going to go through the roof. Mark my words. Next coin is moving away from the stuff we've spoken about so far and moving into gaming. We're talking about Beam, of course. Now, I made a video on Beam recently. It's doing quite well. On the news, it actually pumped a nice juicy 4 cents, came back down again. I do think some people took profits. That's probably what ended up happening here. But again, look at the growth over the last month. It's going to be inching up. It's almost up at 2x. And I do think this is probably the best gaming pick of the bull run. This project was, initially Merit Circle. Merit Circle went, how can we make the most memeable gaming project of the bull run? How can we attract the most normies? And they made Beam. And that's why I love them. They, of course, also now hit AI and DeepIn arguably as well, thanks to their partnership with Aether. You can see here, they're also now working with Abu Dhabi to some degree as well on the Sol Gaming Infrastructure Fund over there. So that's massive for gaming in the UAE. And they've also branched out of being an AVAX layer 2 essentially, and then now their own layer 1 project. They have about $250 million worth of their treasury of the war chest to spend on marketing, updates, and all the rest of it. So again, I just don't see another large infrastructure gaming play that beats the Beam in terms of security and multiples right now. ICP is one of the next coins here, and I think this coin is absolutely being faded on right now because honestly, it's just out of interest, right? But what's brought, I think, it back to the mainstream attention here is the fact that some of these developer reports came out recently on the coin, and they've realized that people are using ICP. Developers are building on this project, likely because it's probably one of the very best technologies in the entire space. So I think we'll see TVL and all the rest of it for this layer 1 project build up here soon, because yes, it is a Web2 layer 1 coin. It's also heavily in AI. It is sort of a competitor to Near Protocol in that sense. They do things differently. These guys are also a proof of work project as well. So there's a few distinct differences, but ultimately they're sort of roughly looking for the same narratives, if you will. Number 3 in terms of actual blockchains, if you exclude other, for the most developers being built on it in the last 12 months. They also don't pay developers to build on it. Near Protocol, these other guys, they have these funding rounds and these grant rounds where they pay developers to come build on them. The carrot on the end of the metaphorical stick, because otherwise developers just will keep doing their thing on their existing chain. And also, as Token Terminal states, ICP has some of the highest fees generated in the space. Fees were once upon a time a concern for ICP. They turned that mechanism up and turned it on through governance, and obviously now they're doing quite well with it. This just means a very succinct layer 1 flywheel. This flywheel here, to kind of long story short, is what you have to focus on to find whether a layer 1 project specifically has the longevity in it, is going to be successful for the long term. And of course, they do burn quite a bit of tokens. Now, speaking of fees and revenue, the best in the space in terms of a small cap with the most upside is, of course, Aerodrome Finance. You guys knew it was going to be on this list. This is a base ecosystem DeFi project. It's also a DEX. But for the most part, it's DeFi and it's base. Base would be about an 8 or a 9 ranking narrative out of 10. Not as powerful, I think, as Solana, but right beneath it. Now, Aerodrome consistently ranks inside the top 10 to 15 coins here in terms of the revenue gained every single sort of week, month, even year. Honestly, at this point, let's click the 1-year date on this and have a look where Aerodrome ranks. Probably just outside the top 10. The thing I love about it is it gives all the revenue back to token holders. They take pretty much nothing for themselves and they give it all back to people like you and I who are in governance for the project. That is true crypto at its finest. Now, its sister net over here, Velodrome, recently launched and was listed on Binance. And this is what it did to Velodrome's price. It went from 14 cents or 15 cents, and it basically instantly 3x almost, okay? So huge stuff. Obviously a bit of a sell-off, right? That's what happens. But what I'm trying to sort of say here is that when we're looking at where Aerodrome could go to, believe it or not, Aerodrome isn't actually on Binance right now. With the listing on Binance, I think this thing will shoot up probably even more than that. Even though it's a larger market cap coin, I think that we'll likely find more people interested in Aerodrome, and therefore we'll probably find the same, if not more, of a possible pump. So here's a coin lost, I think, in the deep, dark depths of the bull run, but I think it's going to be one of the biggest giants when it does come alive. That is Pyth. Pyth network is an oracle. It is the only oracle that actually stands to compete with Chainlink, arguably technically better than Chainlink, but none others actually come as far as to beat it in terms of the total value secured. First of all, I've ranked oracles a 9 out of 10 here, and that's pretty much all Pyth really is. But again, mark my words, this thing's a machine. You can see here the total traded volume is 1 trillion. That's a number I think most people won't expect. I wasn't expecting for sure. You don't hit that number just off the random cusp. If we come down here a little bit, you'll be able to see total value secured, 13.2 billion. If we come to the oracles here on DeFi Llama, we can see that Chainlink right now is 40 billion. So it's give or take a 2.5x smaller than Chainlink's total value secured, actually on over 88 different networks. So it's, I think, much of a better oracle in the sense that it serves more blockchains. It's also in the Solana ecosystem as well. So that has a massive bonus. It's pretty much the de facto sole oracle, period. Now, these guys benefit from an online defensibility model called embedding. Embedding is a way in which you kind of integrate yourself into the very business model itself or the workflow of a project or a business to where they can't pull you out of it. So they rely on your service or product, and that's what an oracle essentially is, especially one that I believe is actually cheaper and faster than its competitors, being Chainlink. Now, my next pick, I think, is going to be one of the dark horses as well of the bull run, focusing as a layer 1 coin, but doing things so differently, so uniquely. I think it's in a whole league of its own. Therefore, it's going to absorb all of the interest in this area for itself. So Mina protocol here is a coin that is solely 22 kilobytes in size. That's the size of a damn tweet. And the reason that makes this so interesting is because most blockchains are well above 200, 300, 400 gigabytes in size. So it's very tiny. And the reason they do this is because they're at the forefront of ZKP technology. As a matter of fact, they're so ahead of the game that Vitalik Buterin said himself that Mina is a project that is at the cutting edge of things. And if he were to do Ethereum all over again, he'd incorporate some of their stuff within Ethereum. Now, also Charles Hoskinson said himself that what Mina is doing is truly impressive. So if these two geniuses in their own right think that Mina is doing some great things, first of all, imagine what they're saying behind closed doors. Imagine what the chat is like with these top dogs behind the scenes. And then think about what Mina is actually doing here. They're in a whole league of their own. They're really at the cutting edge of crypto tech, which is why recently on the same report that said ICP is doing so great with the developers, Mina is in that list as well in terms of fastest growing ecosystems by developers. And I think the reason for this is because that Mina has recently launched their ecosystem. Before this, you couldn't build applications on Mina. Now you can. So in my opinion, Mina definitely deserves a spot on this list because not only is it unique, it really has no competition, but it's doing things extremely well to be noticed by the big boys. And last, but definitely not least, we have a coin here that's the smallest on this list, and that's Morpho. So Morpho is about $3 right now, down slightly from its price of $3.20. So I believe this coin, again, can go way, way, way higher than here. Reason being is because its TVL is 10 times larger than its market cap. Or at least it was. It's now about a 9 or so X larger, but still, I believe it will catch its TVL in terms of the market cap. So that's an instant 10X from here, basically. And then, of course, do a whole bunch more. If we compare this to coins like Uniswap, like PancakeSwap in the last cycle, where eventually, before the bull run started, their TVL was 5 to 10 times larger than the market cap. And as that bull run started, they caught up to that and then eclipsed it by between a 5 to a 10X. So there could be some serious multiples made here in Morpho, and they recently, as of a couple of days back, re-established their website here, refreshed it, made it look so much more clean, I think in anticipation for the newfound interest in the project, right? Institutional growth for DeFi. They're a lending and borrowing platform here. They have massive funding as well, $68 million worth of funding across 97 investors, including S-tier investors like Coinbase, Pantera, Fembushi, A16Z, and the list does go on. Indeed, Kraken's in here. And out of those exchange investors, they're only on Kraken. So they possibly could and probably will be launched on Coinbase at some point. And I think when they are, they're going to find a pretty quick growth. Now, a big shout out to Not Telling here on Twitter. He actually gave me the call for Morpho. Massive upside potential for this coin. And honestly, guys, it's in the base ecosystem as well. I see it doing well with Aerodrome. Now, in a very cheeky 11th spot here, I have to add this to this list, which is Ondo Finance. Ondo right now is about $1.90. It's a $3 billion market cap coin thereabouts. It actually struck for a split second $2 today, which I did call out on Twitter. Again, guys, we keep track of Ondo, particularly on Twitter, because it is going to be, I believe, the largest RWA/tokenization coin. This already being a 10 out of 10 ranked narrative works very closely with Securitize and actually BlackRock as well. So we'll likely see the massive growth and speculation that's come from Ondo with Wormhole, as long as Wormhole does market themselves accordingly. Now, in terms of RWA, what do these guys do? They tokenize US treasuries, okay? So a specific niche within this area, but they have now recently branched out as well to Aptos and a whole bunch of other layer 2s and layer 1s as well. With the recent partnership with Wormhole, I would assume that the Ondo product itself should be able to go to a whole bunch more layer 1s and layer 2s in the market as well, if there's a connection being met there as well. So huge growth potential happening here. Again, people buy based on factors like TVL and, of course, the idea that they're working with BlackRock. Now, one final, I think, cherry on top for Ondo is that they're working on something called Ondo Global Markets, which is doing and I guess creating the end goal for Larry Fink, which is tokenizing stocks and bonds, right? Securities on the blockchain. So these guys are looking to do this. They've been working on this for a long time now, more than just February of this year. Nathan Ellman here is the CEO and founder of Ondo. And as he says here, the goal is to just simply send it all on chain, which is when this launches, I believe sometime in Q1, going to be the biggest catalyst we'll likely find for this coin. And if timed correctly, we're going to obviously have Ondo at some pretty insane numbers. So with that said, those are my main picks based on the recent announcements and upgrades. But I've got to give a very special mention here to Render as well. These guys have connections like none other. I've got to give a mention to Flux. They're doing so much in the world of marketing right now. I truly do think as a small cap, being around the 300 to 400 mil mark, these coins deserve a, I think, multi-billion-dollar market cap size. They're all massive plays in their own right, of course, depending on what the top 10 altcoin list is for at the time. These will, of course, move around depending on where I think the most growth will come from in that next coming period. But I think most of these coins as well will just do well, generally speaking, in the bull run. So that's why I've also invested in them myself, and so have the guys in the private community. So guys, if you want to join a community of like-minded, intelligent people, the links will be down below, usually first link in the description, and I will talk to you all very, very soon. Take good care. All the best for 2025. Bye-bye.